Hello guys, back again, and today we're going to talk about Heroes Reborn. And you're thinking, that kind of sounds like that TV show Heroes that used to be on TV. Well, you're correct. They're bringing it back. Now, before we get into the new, let's talk about the original Heroes. When the Heroes was first announced and you saw the preview on TV, I was very excited for it, because up till that point, we really didn't have a lot of successful superhero shows on TV, unlike, before Smallville obviously had its huge run of 10 years, and you have Arrow on TV and stuff like that. Before around that time, there wasn't a lot of superhero shows that were lasted or were popular, and it was an original idea. Ordinary people get powers, right? And the first season of that show was really great. The story was really tight. You didn't really, you want to know what was going to happen next episode. You didn't know, exactly what was going on. How these people had their powers and this and that and everything else. And some of the questions were answered throughout the season, but not all of them. And it was a great show with some classic, simple comic book elements. Peter was the classical good boy Superman-like character, and Siler was the evil super bad guy, right? And they were the two powerful guys, and everybody else was in the middle, kind of thing. That there's all these other people involved. But you didn't know, Siler was like a mystery through part of that season, and they had the big thing, save the cheerleaders, save the world, and, you knew the explosion thing was going to happen at the end, everything's going to blow up. They kind of did a twist at the end of it. It wasn't the bad guy, it was the good guy that was actually going to kill everybody. And it was a pretty tight season, but then, now the second season I considered a wash, because that's when the writer's strike happened and it threw a lot of things off, and at least the first half of the season I thought would be like, okay, it's going to be alright. But that season altogether wasn't really that good. Unlike the first season, you killed off a character or two in the first season that completely made sense. The bad guy that first season, which wasn't entirely Siler, the other guy, he died, which made sense. And of course, you had the other guy, the guy who died, who kind of had the whole sympathy story. He went to jail. You thought he was bad, but he ended up not being bad, and he saved basically his family. But the second season was totally a disaster, because of course his wife and his little boy, and his wife dies right in that season, and then she find out she has a sister. And the whole thing was a colluded mess. So Peter and his brother's dad come back, and it was the whole season. Everything that was great about the first season was lost by the end of the second season. The third season got worse, and the fourth season was a complete and utter train wreck. You can't have a character like Siler, who's the bad guy, go from bad guy, and then he's a good guy, and then he's a bad guy, and then he's a good guy. In 4 seasons, you can't do that. The show was simple. They didn't sit into simple comic book rules, and that was, you had Peter, who was the ultimate good guy, right? In the first season, if he touched you, he gained your power. So they decided in the second season, how are we going to solve this problem? Well, he can only have one power at a time. And you thought, okay, at some point he's going to get it back. He's going to get his powers back. Maybe it's temporarily gone from the explosion, and he blew up. It didn't happen. And then, and it was just a train wreck. There's no other way to describe it. So these bad guys are strong, but this bad guy can kick this bad guy, who's supposed to be the ultimate bad guy's butt, and going back and going into alternate times and coming back. Just a mess. And so now NBC has decided they're going to do Heroes Reborn with a completely different cast. Heroes Reborn is going to be a 13-episode miniseries sometime in 2015. Also in 2015 is going to be a prequel series called Heroes Reborn Digital Series, which will be on, as NBC's doing this, will be on NBC's websites, Hulu, Video on Demand, and it'll be a prequel to the miniseries. But for those who like the original Heroes, season 1 through 4, there actually is going to be Heroes comic book season 5 to continue with what's ever left after season 4. So it is interesting that they thought there was value. They're bringing this back. And one of the remarks someone made, which made sense to me, was, maybe with the original Heroes, they should have had a different cast every season. Because, well, actually, let me rephrase this. One of the biggest disasters of the second season when it first started was, okay, you find out that there's these 10 super, more powerful than they are, people who have abilities and heroes. But you only see a couple of them, and you never see the rest, and they drop that completely. Like, that was kind of interesting. Oh, well, Siler and them are going to go up against these 10 super powerful guys, and you only see one or two, and then you never find out where the rest are. That's the whole premise of the second, fourth season. So many missed opportunities, just a complete, utter train wreck. So hopefully they learn their lesson. I don't know how many fans are going to be for Heroes to see it back again, because, you know, it ended on such a bad note, and a lot of people were kind of turned off. Are they going to come back? What picture are they going to paint this time? Because when the series was on TV, there wasn't a lot of superhero shows. Now there are superhero shows. You got Arrow. You're gonna have the Flash. You're gonna have Gotham. So it's not like you got Agents of Shield. You got the superhero movies. It's not like this is like by itself, and there's nothing else to see. So I'm interested to see what they do with it. What characters are they going to bring? They need to balance it out properly, unlike last time. Okay, here's one thing about a TV show. If you're going to do a TV show, you have to think long term, not short term. The biggest mess of Heroes was, and this happens to a lot of TV shows, they wrote this great first season, and they got renewed, and they didn't know what to do after that. And so I hope that, like Lost was an example of a show where they went to the network. They had the show planned out from beginning to end. They told them, this is how many years we want. This is how long the show is going to run. And the network had to sign up for the whole thing. And so they had it all planned out. I'm sure they did tweaks along the way. Whether you liked the ending of it or not, doesn't matter. And so a lot of these TV shows don't have long-term plans. And hopefully whoever wrote this show has plans, if it gets past 13, long-term for the series. At least a blueprint. Not necessarily we have to stick to every little detail kind of thing. And this happens to a lot of TV shows, right? You build up this bigger thing. This is the event thing, but they don't have a long-term goal. They almost resolve everything in the first season, and then it gets renewed and there's nothing, if it does well. Or halfway through the season, you already know what's going to happen. All the major plot points have been hit, and you're like, okay, I don't need to watch this anymore. So, anyway. What do you think about the fact they're bringing Heroes back as Heroes Reborn? None of the original cast will be in it. I really hope they don't bring any of the original writers from season 2 through 4, or the executive producer of that show, because it was a complete train wreck. But what do you hope from Heroes Reborn? What about, if you watch the original Heroes, what about it you hope they don't do with the new miniseries? And would you be interested in picking up Heroes Season 5 comic book? Anyway, guys, like always, thanks for liking, favoriting, subscribing. I really do appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys later.